participate in the future, please contact MetroPlan Orlando. I would like to update the committee that during the March MetroPlan Orlando board meeting, there was a discussion related to the recent release of the 2021 Dangerous by Design report. The Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford metropolitan area continues to hold the position at the top of the list. There was discussion at the board that there are things that we cannot change, like the number of months with sunshine or how the ranking is being calculated, which may put our region at a disadvantage. The board did express an interest in understanding the metrics that we can change and also in measuring pedestrian safety in our projects. Our own Nabil Muhaisen also recommended to the board that while we do a lot to improve pedestrian safety already, we need to make that information better known. The board did express an interest in further discussions on this topic at future meetings. At this time, I'd like to recognize Eric Hill of MetroPlan Orlando staff for the agenda review. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to all committee members and those attending online. Thank you for working with us as we conduct these virtual meetings. We appreciate your patience and understanding. Based on direction from our board at their December 2020 meeting, this meeting is being held as a virtual workshop in which action items that are being advanced to the MetroPlan Orlando board will be reviewed and discussed, but no formal action will be taken so that a quorum will not be required. The board's action on these items will be ratified at a future in-person TSMO meeting. This format is subject to change if the governor issues another executive order. Again, thank you for your flexibility during this time. As the chairman mentioned, we will be using the raised hand feature to recognize committee members during the meeting and to call on members of the public during the comment time. If you have joined us on the phone only without the video screen, please use *6 to mute and unmute your line. Please use *9 to raise your virtual hand so the meeting host can see that you wish to be recognized. You'll see that there is a chat feature on the toolbar. This communicates with all panelists in this meeting, which includes committee members, staff, and presenters. Please only use this if you have technical issues or need assistance. A full record of the chat comments will be included with the public record of this meeting. MetroPlan Orlando will be conducting a market research survey from May 3rd through the 21st. This will cover a wide range of transportation topics, and we would like for all of you to participate in the survey. Participants will have a chance to win a $25 gift card. We will be sending out more information on the survey in the near future. Also, I want to remind members that we are soliciting off-system construction candidate program applications. An email was sent out last Tuesday, and our deadline for responses questions is April the 30th. So if you have any projects that you want to submit, please get those to us by April 30th. Mr. Chairman, that completes my announcements this morning. And there is one change to the agenda. The workforce task force report, I will provide that report. Laura will not be providing that report to you this morning. Okay, so with that change to the agenda, now we'd like to take attendance. Ask Ms. Goldfarb to call the roll for the record. Again, there are no action items, so we would be able to move forward even if there isn't a quorum present.
I'll ask all committee members to please go ahead and unmute yourselves now for the roll call, and you can go on mute again after your name is called. Please make sure your video is on if possible so we can confirm it's you. You'll find the unmute and video buttons on the bottom left side of your toolbar on the bottom of your screen. Please say here or present when your name is called. Blackadar? Blackadar?
Sorry,
Broad? Broad?
I'm sorry, here.
Brock?
here.
Cash?
Here.
Clem?
Present.
Elazar?
Present.
Creel? Gondor?
Here.
Gondor?
Here.
Gordon? Gordon? Hammer? Hamayuni?
Present.
Jameson?
Here.
Dredge?
Here.
Kelly? Kelly? Krug?
Here.
Laffey? Laffey?
Here.
Margraf?
Here.
McDaniel? Newhason?
Present.
Pullum?
Here.
Sanders?
Here.
Gianella?
Present.
Centerans?
Present.
Smith?
Shad Smith is present.
Tobin? 80?
Present.
Walter?
Present.
Weatherford? Weatherford? Wetzel?
Here.
Hinson? Scott? That concludes the roll call.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our public comments on the action items. These are normally called action items, but in this format, we will be calling these our items for review and or discussion. Do we have people who would want to speak to any of these items? If so, please use the raise hand function found at the bottom of your screen or by pressing *9 on your phone keypad. When we call your name, the host will unmute your microphone. You will see a pop-up button that says the host wants to unmute you. Accept that prompt to activate your microphone. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. Are there any comments at this time?
Chairman, I do not see any, and we have not received any online.
And I do not see any either, so we will go ahead and move on to our items for review and or discussion. We have 2 items today. Our first item are the minutes from our last meeting, which are in tab 1 at your agenda packets. I hope you've all had a chance to review them. Are there any corrections or revisions that need to be brought to staff's attention? Please use raise hand function. Give just a moment. And I am not seeing any raised hands. So as a reminder, these will be brought back for formal approval at a future in-person meeting. Our next item is the FDOT amendment to the fiscal year 2020-21 through 2024-25 TIP. It is found in tab 2 of your agendas. Mr. Keith Caskey from MetroPlan Orlando will present the information. Please hold your questions on the item until the presentation is finished. Go ahead, Mr. Caskey.
Okay, good morning. This amendment request includes the Sunrail Phase 2 North in Volusia County, and of course that's outside of our region, but FDOT has asked we include that project in our TIP since it is a district-wide project as part of the overall Sunrail project. Then there's a 4-laning project on Neptune Road in Osceola County, and that project is receiving federal SU funds for right-of-way, and that makes it eligible to receive additional federal funding. And then there's a railroad crossing project on Hester Avenue in Sanford. And you all have the information on this in your agenda packets. So with that, are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the committee? Please use raise hands. Give just a moment here. And I am not seeing any hands raised. So thank you very much, Mr. Caskey.
Thank you.
We have 3 presentations on today's agenda. Please use raise hand function to be recognized if you want to ask a question. You can raise your hand anytime during the presentation to indicate that you would like to ask the question, but we will hold the questions until the presentation ends. If you're having any audio issues, you can put your question in the chat box and the moderator will relay your question. Mr. Eric Hill, MetroPlan Orlando, will provide us a briefing on the work that has been completed in the regional TSMO program. Mr. Hill.
Good morning again, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just as a recap for new members and for the returning champions, you've probably heard this presentation of me give a briefing on this effort that we started a year ago. And the effort is to bridge TSMO planning across Central Florida, what we consider the mega region of the state, between the MPOs. And these are the MPOs that go from the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf Coast of Mexico. And these MPOs, TPOs include Space Coast, River to Sea, of course, MetroPlan Orlando, Polk County TPO, Sarasota Manatee MPO, Fort Pinellas MPO, Pasco MPO, and Hillsborough County MPO. We started this effort again over a year ago. In January, we had a virtual meeting with the directors as well as other interested participants, including each of the FDOT districts, District 1, 5, and 7, to talk about how we can link our efforts from a planning perspective to advance TSMO. One of the things we met and discussed was having an appropriate title for this effort. We batted around several names. It started out as a consortium, then a coalition, I-4 Quarter Coalition, I-4 Consortium. And we decided to just go with a regional TSMO program as the brand name for this effort. For me, it rolls off my tongue real easy and helps with giving an elevator speech to anyone. We also agreed on a Memorandum of Understanding, and this is an agreement, a handshake, if you will, that the MPOs will work together, will assign staff to this effort, that if information is to be shared, and part of this is a knowledge sharing effort, that there's agreement that this will occur. And the agreement is between the MPOs. It doesn't include the districts. We have invited the Central Florida Expressway to participate, and Mr. Hamayani has been a consistent participant, as well as the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, THEA, to participate. And the Turnpike has participated in our meetings as well. So the MOU is, again, between the planning agencies only. The way that we have administered the MOU is, instead of requiring the policy board execution of the MOU, we've just held it at the director's position. And each of the directors have gone to their policy board and have been given authorization to execute the MOU. So we're compiling the MOUs now. We'll be sending them back out to the MPOs as soon as we have them all compiled. Additionally, we came up with some goals and objectives for us to achieve as we proceed through the year. And these are goals and objectives that will help embellish each MPO in the area of TSMO, whether it's education, knowledge sharing, building what I consider the capacity or staff capacity to advance TSMO, and what I consider part of our secret sauce, identifying a champion on their policy board that is going to shepherd TSMO activities. It's part of what my effort is, because I have a wealth of information and resources, is getting this information out to my peers at the other MPOs. And so far, this has worked very well. To facilitate this effort, we've established a working group, and the working group consists of, again, my peers at each of the MPOs or someone that has been designated at an MPO to take on TSMO responsibilities. The working group has met twice. We had a meeting on March the 9th. to go over all that has happened and for me to brief each of the staff members on discussions that have occurred at the director's level. And as part of the meeting formats for the working groups, what I intend to do is feature or have a feature presentation, someone nationally recognized in the TSMO realm, and certainly someone that I have been working with in TSMO. And so at our March meeting, we had a presentation on the National Operations Centers of Excellence. This is a organization that is supported by USDOT, ITE, ITS America, to advance TSMO and to serve as a advocate at the national level. At our our April 13th meeting, which was last week, we had a presentation from the North Central Texas Council of Governments. Tom Bamonte is the Automated Vehicle Programs Director at the Council of Government. And this is the only MPO that I am aware of that has a designated position for automated vehicles. Tom gave a great presentation on what they are doing in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in terms of not only advancing connected and autonomous vehicle technology, but the partnerships that they're building on the public side as well as the private side to advance technology and transportation. So these are just two of the activities that the working group has completed. As part of this effort, we've also secured a grant from the State Transportation Innovative Council for $100,000, and that is to support our effort throughout the year. We've also partnered with the Center for Urban Transportation Research through their National Institute on Congestion Reduction to bring an academic piece to this, to get a review on what we are trying to accomplish, but to also help us in developing governance once we get to that point, as well as administration of this program as it develops and matures. And as a result of our engagement with Qatar, they've invited us to participate in a Department of Energy grant to evaluate the impacts of to evaluate the impacts of proposed technologies on mobility, safety, and energy, and to demonstrate how planning models can be used to evaluate advances in technology for automated vehicles. This is a grant application that they are submitting, but they've asked us to participate in hopes that if an award is given, that they will engage us under this regional TSMO program and ask the MPOs to use their models in evaluating the project. So, Mr. Chairman, that wraps up my briefing on the regional TSMO program. And if there are any questions, I can certainly respond to them.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have any questions for Mr. Hill?
Okay.
Eric, is the group looking at a perhaps formal name that they would then be able to use as I'm participating with the, whatever that name is when you're putting in for grants, or how are you referring to this?
Well, we've settled on, again, the brand name of the regional TSMO program. And as we, again, apply for grants or participate in any type of effort beyond what we've established, that will be used. As it evolves, as it starts to mature, and again, we'll be looking for Qatar to provide some guidance on this. If there is a recommendation or suggestion for creating a more formal name than the regional TSMO program, then certainly that will be part of their research and part of the work that they provide. But right now is, again, the regional TSMO program. Early on, we did get a recommendation to call it a consortium or a coalition. But again, I think as we had more and more discussion about this, there were too many phrases or references used to describe this effort. And in our meeting in January, I made an appeal to the directors that we agree on just at this point calling a regional TSMO program.
Thank you. Any other questions? I do not see any hands raised, so thank you very much, Eric.
Okay, you're welcome, sir.
For our second presentation, Mr. Ronald Chin of FDOT District 7 Traffic Operation Engineer will be giving us a presentation on the I-4 frame project. So thank you for joining us today, and go ahead, Mr. Chin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm so excited to share with you this morning the project on I-4 frame, Interstate 4, Florida's Regional Advanced Mobility Elements Project. You know, typically when I see a new project coming on board, I ask the questions, what, why, where, how, and when. And so this presentation is set out to do exactly that, to answer these questions. So what is the I-4 frame project? And, you know, and so speaking, the DOT's vision is always to improve safety, enhance mobility, and inspire innovation. With that, the FDOT developed the I-4 frame project to improve transportation along one of our state's most important thoroughfares. The I-4 frame project is a connected vehicle and intelligent transportation systems technologies project that will leverage vehicle to infrastructure and vehicle to vehicle technologies in an effort to reduce crashes and improve mobility. I really like this slide because it kind of, you know, subliminally sends the message of the purpose and need. So why do we need I-4 frame? So, you know, with I-4 being a vital artery for economic activities in Florida and connecting both the East and West Coast in Tampa Bay and Orlando, you know, Orlando receives so many visitors a year. And in 2018, they had 75 million visitors and probably casted as America's most visited destination. I-4 experiences severe mobility issues due to frequent, a little too fast, thank you, sorry about that. You back up one, Laura? Thank you. So we experienced a lot of crashes on I-4, especially between 2016 and 2018. Interstate 4 had 45 fatal crashes and over 2,000 injury crashes. We move about 151,000 vehicles a day and 16,000 trucks. With that, I-4 averaged 2-lane closures events per day with at least one directional full closure 11 days. And so you can see how devastating and excruciating this can be on Interstate 4. Next. Not a picture we're proud of, but it kind of sends the message and demands our challenge as to how we can improve the safety along Interstate 4. This is a heat map that shows the actual severe incidents that occur along Interstate 4. That shuts down I-4 on a regular basis. For each of a fatality that occurs, typically there's at least a 4-hour closure of the entire side of the roadway for traffic homicide investigation. And this can fluctuate from a single lane closure to an entire directional closure, depending on severity of the incident. Next. So where's the I-4 frame project? I-4 frame will improve safety and alleviate traffic congestion for over 77 miles along Interstate 4. It will include over 200 miles of other limited access state and non-state routes, and includes over 380 traffic signals throughout the region of the 3 districts, Districts 1, 5, 7, and also our Florida Turnpike Enterprise. The project will bring FDOT closer to its vision to a fatality-free roadway network and a congestion-free transportation system in Florida using emerging technologies for connected automated vehicles and intelligent transportation systems. Next. This is an overall map showing I-4 frame and project limits with district boundaries. From west to east, we start at the Tampa International Airport and make our way to the Orlando International Airport. Other big tourist destinations are the theme parks, Busch Gardens, Universal Studios, Legoland, and of course, it's a small world after all. The I-4 project is split into 5 different plan sets, 3 districts, Florida Turnpike Enterprise, 2 construction contracts, one for District 7, and the other for Districts 5, 1, and the Florida Turnpike Enterprise. In District 7, the color to the left, kind of a light green, I would call that wasabi color. You can see the primary diversion routes in kind of teal, and the dash teal are the secondary routes. In District 7, we're using US 92 or Hillsborough Avenue as the primary route, State Road 60 and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard as secondary routes. In District 1, you'll see the primary routes in red and the secondary routes in dash red. And these will be a part of the second contract, as I mentioned. And then moving to the east in District 5, you'll see the primary routes in blue and the secondary routes in the dash blue. These will be a part of the second contract as well. All turnpike roadways, regardless of which district, are shown in the dark green areas. These will be a part of the second contract as well. Next. This kind of quantifies the lane miles and, showing the number of miles on arterials and the arterials for each district. In District 7, as you can see, there are 25 miles of the Interstate 4, 80 miles along arterials. And we also in District 7 include State Road 60 as a specific corridor as we were able to secure additional funding. And, our goal there was to emphasize an association with freight management and also transit management. District 1 has, the bulk of Interstate 4 of 30 miles, arterials as well, 100 miles, and Florida Turnpike roadways, 24 miles. So District 1 is a heavy lift on the I-4 frame project. In District 5, we'll cover 22 miles of I-4 and 30 miles of arterials. You can see how elaborate and extensive this project is, and it's such a regional expansion, really, for connected automated vehicles and ITS. Next. Honing in on some of the granularity of the technology deployments that will be in each district and boundary of Interstate 4. Installations will include roadside units, closed circuit television cameras, Bluetooth detectors that will measure speed and occupancy, video and radar video detection, advanced traffic controllers in the signal cabinets, and blank out signs at all major decision points along diversion routes. There will be minimal fiber drops, but cellular modems will fill communication gaps. Key things to note in District 7, our primary route east-west is Hillsborough Avenue. And again, the secondary routes, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and State Road 60. Roadside units will be installed approximately every mile along Interstate 4. and will utilize existing cameras and existing microwave vehicle detection devices. On arterials, RSUs will be placed at all intersections and select mid-block crossings and emergency signals. At major decision points, CCTVs, Bluetooth detectors, video and radar vehicle detection, and blankout signs will be installed. Detection is being added so we can get automated traffic signal performance measures at these intersections. The blankout signs will be key in directing motorists with diversions and to help them on their route to move to their destination. On the next little slide, we'll go over an example location to show the proposed equipment. An extremely busy slide, but just wanted to show you the granular detail for each intersection that we're retrofitting technology devices and ITS on our intersections on the arterials. Next. In District 1, we'll have a similar approach to District 7, except all secondary routes are not being retrofitted at this time with roadside units. And you can see the large expanse of primary routes, and that's one of the reasons we're budget limited. But as as the future lends itself, District 1 will probably be doing retrofitting the secondary routes. Primary diversion routes include US 92, State Road 33, and Polk Parkway, Florida's Turnpike. Secondary routes include State Road 60, US 17, and Dean Still Road. One of the key applications to be utilized along the State Road 60 corridor will be freight signal priority. And I don't know if any of you have recently driven through Lakeland, especially County Line Road, but it's a mecca for distribution centers, which makes this so much attractive for the freight corridors. Next. District 5 also follows a similar format for design and implementation. Primary routes include US 192, International Drive, and State Road 535, Apopka, Vineland Road. Secondary routes include are included in a previous developed project in District 5. And so that's really helpful for District 5. Next. So how does I-4 frame work? These are some of the technology elements that would be implemented. Traffic incident management, typically broadcast traffic incident management signals from incident detection, maintenance and construction management, and emergency centers. Speed harmonization messages. Let's say you have a queue warning, a backup due to congestion at an interchange. And so what we want to do is to let people know in advance, to slow your speed down in approaching that interchange. I know you guys have seen all the uptick in wrong-way driving, especially in the Tampa Bay area. That's a huge and crucial need at this time in our district and along the region. Work zone management. There's also an uptick in safety issues in work zones. And so we need to be keeping our workers and contractors safe, and not to mention the public driving through these work zones. And we'll also have predictive analytics based on artificial intelligence, kind of anticipating and knowing where incidents may occur and have the appropriate resources allocated for those situations. Freight management as well, as I indicated earlier, on State Road 60 especially, and with running through Lakeland, that's going to be critical. And so we wanted to embrace a freight association as well with this I-4 frame project. Next. So here's the good part. The schedule and budget we're totally funded for the I-4 frame project with just over $27 million. Our schedule indicates we will be letting this project for the contract 1 in February of 2022. So that's just less than a year from here. And contract number 2 with districts 1, 5, and the Florida Turnpike Enterprise will be letting in July of 2022. And we're providing a small gap, for the stimulating competition, having contractors gear up, and also to accommodate our specification booklet changes that may occur and update mid-year. Next slide. So when will I-4 frame be built? And we're hoping construction to begin, as indicated in the previous slide, February 2022. Pardon the typo there. And for the other second contract in July of 2022. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time.
I would like to ask the committee for any questions. Again, we're using the raise hands feature. And I do have a hand from Brian Hamiani. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks Ron for the presentation. Very detailed, a lot of great information in there. I appreciate that. Quick question for you. I noticed you're using the wrong way driving connected vehicle application as part of the initiatives that you're rolling out. Are you doing any other wrong way driving detection or applications as a part of this project, or is it just purely the connected vehicle application?
And this time, Brian, just purely the connected vehicle application.
Okay, so the detection would be, you would be detecting connected vehicles that are.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. So not only a connected vehicle, thank you for clarifying that. No, so any wrong way vehicle that would be detected along, and these would be off of the off ramps.
Very good. What detection methods do you know? Have you specified detection methods for the ramps?
And not as yet, but typically, Brian, we would use video. We'll also use magnetic loops or radar detection. So, we have quite a bit of options.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I just would like to jump in and just comment that first, thank you, Ron, for agreeing to give us a presentation on the I-4 frame project. And for everyone, this project is a complement to the Attain project that District 5, MetroPlan Orlando, and University of Central Florida was awarded, looking at how we can advance not only the technology, but look at how we can deploy technology for safety, for transit use, for creating a smart community around the UCF area in East Orange County. And so they're complement projects, and they are also projects that, again, going back to the regional TSMO program, that this program can build on. We can leverage both projects to further TSMO across the Central Florida mega region. And this impacts mostly the rural roads as well as the arterials and local networks. So again, this is a wonderful addition to the Central Florida area. And for those that don't travel I-4 as much as I do, I can tell you that two things. One, it's kind of like the Vegas Strip, where you have events going on all the time. Between Orlando and Tampa, there are events, and even further east to the coast, the Atlantic coast, as well as over to the Gulf. There are events happening throughout the year. And these events are what contribute to a lot of the congestion that we all experience. So in that regard, again, using technology and using advances in information communications is a way for us to manage and operate our traffic. The second thing is it's becoming largely a freight corridor. The number of warehouse fulfillment centers that have just popped up along I-4, in particular in Polk County, are tremendous. And you add to that the growing or the emergence of the Polytechnic University. So the entire Central Florida region is just burgeoning. And so we're running out of space. So, the whole idea of adding capacity is not there. So bringing in projects like, I-4 Frame and the Attain project is certainly ways for us to improve not only safety, reliability, and sustainability of the environment for transportation. Ron, I wanted to ask a question. You mentioned two things. You mentioned connected and autonomous vehicle. As part of the Attain project, one of the things is we will be testing autonomous shuttle vehicles around University of Central Florida. Are you going to be doing any testing of connected and autonomous vehicles as part of this project?
Eric, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but in speaking with our team, I know we have plans to do that, but we haven't identified the scope and breadth of that, but we will be.
Okay. And you mentioned predictive analytics. What will you be doing in that realm? Because we are working with the University of Central Florida to use predictive analytics for crashes, in particular secondary crashes, and then how we can fuse the data to share with third parties like Waze and freight industry to advise motorists on conditions so that we can reduce secondary crashes. So what are you planning in that area?
That's correct,
as far as predictive
Eric,
analytics.
Very similar to what you just conveyed. Currently, we're working with the City of Tampa and Waycare on that. And, we have a huge project underway with the City of Tampa. And so we have implemented that, and we're going to be, trying to anticipate where those crashes would be so we can prevent secondary crashes. But we do have on board Waycare as we speak, and this contract will also embrace, whoever the vendor that comes across.
Okay, thank you.
Be awarded.
This is an obvious corridor that would be used in emergency situations. So how is that handled to make sure that if, for example, we go into contraflow, we're not kicking off a whole bunch of wrong way driver messages, or that blank out signs are visible in those type situations?
So, Mr. Chairman, one more time, the question?
This corridor would be used obviously in an emergency evacuation. So how is the system going to handle, for example, if we go into contraflow, so that we're not kicking off a whole bunch of wrong way driver notices when we're intentionally doing that, and that blank out signs can be seen from both sides of the highway if we're in that type of situation?
Yeah, so I wanted to share with you, the department had made a decision, I want to say a couple years ago, that we would not entertain contraflow. It's just too resource demanding. And our law enforcement partners were, indicating that, hey guys, this is really too challenging to accomplish. And so, Mr. Chairman, at this time, the department would be embracing emergency shoulder use. And so we'll be utilizing our shoulders in need on I-4 as we need to evacuate in the directions, that the highway currently has. So we would not be contraflowing at all.
Okay, thank you. Brian, did you have a hand?
Yes, Mr. Chin. On occasion, when I'm driving on the interstate system, my near classic vehicle is connected to Waze to help guide me around these incidences when they occur. Will this system work with those algorithms so that you're not competing with another system sending people on different routes? Hopefully it works together and sends them down these routes that have been optimized just for that purpose.
That's correct. That's our plan, Brian, is to do just that. And so, you know, we're in the background trying to work with all the partners out there, Waze, Google, etc. And so we don't want to have a different system or algorithm. And so, you know, we're integrating with them. And we currently have relationships with Waze. And so we'll be doing the same thing with the other applications out there.
Great.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chin. Very good presentation, and we really appreciate your joining us today. We'll now move to our third presentation, which is our update on the Workforce Task Force. And this will be handled by Mr. Eric Hill of MetroPlan Orlando. Eric.
Okay, again, thank you. This is a project that is being led by Laura Bauk, and Laura is doing a lot of work in the background. And so she asked if I could pinch hit for her. So I'm more than willing to step up and report out. Many of you may recall that a few months ago, we developed a task force to look at how we can supplement workforce in the TSMO realm. And so we solicited volunteers, and so we had many of the members step up and volunteer to assist staff with this effort. So just provide you with an update. MetroPlan Orlando, we convened the task force to try to address workforce needs in the region. The first task force meeting was held on March 3rd. The focus of that meeting was on resurrecting signal technician training program that Jeremy Dillmore at FDOT District 5 and others worked to develop several years ago. This is a focus due to the regional and national shortage of trained signal technicians. The prior effort by Jeremy pursued a partnership with Orange Technical College, Mid-Florida campus, for a 2-year signal technician certification. Orange Tech was approached separately also by Blue Origin to develop a different 2-year program prior to finalizing plans for the signal technician program. And the school did not have the resources to develop 2 separate certification programs. To work with Blue Origin to an effort focused on trying to assess students at high school level in the task force is looking at the feasibility of developing a dual enrollment program. Efforts to date include better defining the regional and statewide market for signal technicians, coordinating with CareerSource Central Florida to discuss their various youth programs and opportunities for collaboration, outreach to the city of Altamont Springs, which Brett Blackadar is helping us to coordinate to get lessons learned from the development of their science incubator, AS2I program. And we're starting to identify contacts at the various school districts and technical colleges in the region. The next task force meeting is currently being scheduled and will occur in early or mid-May. So, Mr. Chairman, that is a brief update on our task force workforce program. And if I can certainly respond to any questions or comments that members may have.
Question or comments, please use raise hand. And I am not seeing any hands raised. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hill.
You're welcome.
In our agendas, you will see that we have 3 common presentations with the TAC meeting following this one. You will need to disconnect and sign into the TAC meeting for these presentations. If you're a member of TAC, please go through the link in the panelist invitation that you were sent via email. If not, then please join the meeting through the public link at metroplanorlando.org/virtual meetings. These 3 presentations will be on the board emphasis areas, pedestrian safety trends, and the links autonomous vehicles. There are several items under general information in tab 3 in your agendas. We also have several upcoming meetings. Our next TSMO meeting will be May the 21st. If you remember, we moved that meeting due to the holiday. As we heard earlier, this will be a virtual workshop so that a quorum will not be required. If this changes, we will be notified by MetroPlan Orlando staff. The next MetroPlan Orlando board meeting will be May the 12th and will be a hybrid meeting with some board members, staff, and members of the public attending in person, and other board members, staff, members of the public, and presenters attending virtually on Zoom. Are there any committee members who have final comments? Please use the raise hand function and unmute yourself when you're recognized. I am not seeing raised hands. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment? Please use raise hand. Oh, Mr. Hill.
Mr. Chairman, to fill in on member comments, may I just bring up a few items to get the membership reaction on?
Yes, we will move to public comments after Mr. Hill's comments.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank
Hill?
you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple items just for discussion. Staff has had internal discussion about how our committee interacts with the other committees. For example, at board meetings, our chair reports out on information from our meeting, and the chairs of all the other committees do the same. So there are conversations happening at the other committees that are not necessarily shared here in the TSMO committee. And so what we would like is for the chair, Mr. Chairman, to provide you with any information that is shared or discussed at the other committees, and have that information also reported out here to TSMO so that there's some cross-pollination, if you will, of reactions to items that are action items or presentations that are given. So that is one of the items that we would like to integrate into the chair's announcement. That's one item. And the next couple items are for your consideration. If you would like more information on these subjects or presentations. One is the use of drones. Not sure which agency, organization, or jurisdiction has considered or even has or owns drones or have staff that are certified. But that is getting attention right now in the legislature on how they can be used and for what purpose. And I know that the department has looked at developing the use of drones for traffic incident management, and more certainly used in terms of just reporting on conditions during evacuations. And I believe that some jurisdictions within the state of Florida have been using for bridge inspections. But if the committee is interested in having a presentation or getting more information on the use of drones or perhaps developing a project that would allow us to demonstrate the capability of using drones. The next item is project status reporting. You may recall that we had mentioned this a few months ago, that we'd like to speak with some of the jurisdictions that have had projects go through the TIP that have been deployed and now are in operation, to have a report out on how these projects are performing. And the whole idea here is to identify lessons learned, what kind of knowledge has come from the use or deployment of this project, because chances are there's a project in the TIP that can benefit from lessons learned. But staff will have follow-up conversation with representatives from the jurisdictions on projects that we'd like to report back on. And then lastly, and Dr. Brock, please forgive me, but I had sent out a report on it's a traffic signal technology that's being used in the city of Lakeland, and Dr. Brock had responded that, sounds like something interesting. But in the city of Lakeland, they have deployed a signal technology that recognizes a red light running vehicle or driver. And as that vehicle approaches the intersection, the signals themselves maintain a red, so that vehicle is violating that intersection, gets through, and there is not an incident. And so the traffic manager in the city of Lakeland, I have a pretty good relationship with. So I would like to ask if he could give us a presentation at some point in the future. And as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Chairman, these are just items that I'd like to bring to the committee. And if the committee is open to having presentation on each of these items, staff will certainly facilitate that. So that's all I wanted to say, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Rachel Giornella, we'll get to your comment in just a second in the chats. Shad, did you have a question on Eric's information? You are muted.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I was just gonna say that, yeah, the use of drones and the traffic signal presentations would both be good. I didn't know if we were gonna do something, everybody raise their hands or something, or how we were gonna do that. So, but that's all I was gonna say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman.
Brian Homiani.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just respond to Chad real quick. Yeah, Chad, again, I'm not sure how many jurisdictions have an interest in the use of drones. But again, that subject has been brought to my attention. And so I believe it's this committee that would determine how we pursue any efforts to use drones. And so I, again, want the committee I want to have that dialogue. I want the committee to weigh in on it.
Brian Homiani.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was just going to agree with Shad and Eric. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to take a look at and take a deeper dive into. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and we should explore it. Sounds good.
Thank you. Other comments? Eric, I'd like to draw your attention to the chat. We have a question from Rachel about the guidelines for submitting potential projects by April 30th.
Well, I presume, Rachel, you're referring to the earlier comment on off-system projects. Is that correct, Rachel?
That is correct. Thanks, Eric.
Okay. Yeah, the guidelines, I will defer to Nick Lack to give you those guidelines. He has the big grin on his face right now. Go ahead, Nick.
I was expecting some of these to come up. I don't have the chat. Let me pull the chat up so I can get the specific question, Rachel.
The question is, what are the guidelines for submitting potential projects by April 30th?
Oh, Rachel, we just want to know for our project priority list, if you have any projects that have planning, PD&E, right-of-way and design complete that you may be looking for construction assistance, which will be covered under this program, which will be using some of those federal funds. This is a new program that we had developed in the 2045 plan to assist on some of these larger capital construction projects. The guidelines are mainly anything that would be eligible under our SU program for construction, kind of a complete street, a TSMO project, or even something like a trail bridge or even a widening project are all eligible under this program. It would be something larger than our traditional TMA program, which has that $4 million cap. These would be for those larger projects that we haven't been able to accommodate using some of those federal funds in the past. I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to reach out and we can do something offline.
What would include crosswalk, ADA?
We do have a separate crosswalk ADA kind of program, also identified in the 2045 MTP. This would be for larger projects, and I'm envisioning things with a construction cost probably over the $10 million, even closer probably to the $20 million that we haven't been able to accommodate before using some of those federal TMA funds off system.
Any other final comments before we move to public comment? Kelly Brock, you are recognized.
Nick, I hope y'all are not only considering $10 million plus projects, because that was not at all clear before. And I spent a lot of time putting our submittal together yesterday. So.
Not at all. So this is an overall construction assistance designed for projects that we haven't been able to accommodate through the Complete Streets or TSMO or trail program. It's not excluding those. The only real criteria is this is just for construction assistance. So as long as the local government staff has completed all of the prior work, which is the planning, PD&E, design and right of way, then it is eligible under this program.
Nick, I have another question regarding that. Would the crosswalks for ADA, so this crosswalk that we are interested in particular, it would be access to the Seminole Cross Trail missing link project that was just completed here in Winter Springs, right across from State Road 419, where Layer Elementary School is.
That could actually be considered even more so under a safe route to school or a school mobility project. Now remember, under these programs, just like our current TMA programs, this would be a LAP program. So it is still subject to the LAP requirements of dollar value. So if they are smaller dollar value projects, we will still run into the same issues we've had before with trying to get them through the LAP process. So that's why, again, we're still looking for some of these bigger projects to federalize under this, which then could relieve some of those local funds for some of those smaller projects. But we can discuss those in more detail.
We are starting to run low on time on our meeting, but Kelly Brock, did you have a follow-up question?
I just wanted to clarify, because last week, Nick, during the workshop, I thought you had stated that it's that the design needs to at least be funded, not necessarily that we have 100% plans. Could you clarify that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You are correct. The items just need to be identified for funding within, say, a capital improvement program, because this program that we're looking at, the first year of funding would be fiscal year 25-26, which is the first year identified in our MTP. So it wouldn't be any construction funds available before then, because those funds have already been programmed within the TIP. So this would be a new program starting 25-26. So as long as it's demonstrated that those phases have been local funds have been allocated to them and that they'll be kind of completed on a certain time frame, that will help us determine which year we should be trying to program those construction funds for. Very similar to the way we've been managing the LAP process, going through, making sure that design is programmed within a certain year and you have enough window before we program construction for that to be complete and obligate those funds.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and move to our public comments. If there are members of the public who wish to comment, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We will unmute your microphone. After you are recognized, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comment to 2 minutes or less. Are there any comments at this time?
Mr. Chairman, do not see any.
And were there any written or phone comments submitted before the meeting?
No, sir.
Okay, and again, not seeing any comments. I'd like to thank you, everybody, for your time. At this time, if there's no further business, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Thank you.